Let's get this bird up in the air. And I would say it's making the 152 feel a bit more like some of the paid aircraft do. It's just that slightly more fluid flight mechanic that, yeah, that feels really, really good. Yeah, I would say that's definitely making a difference. And we'll swing her round and we'll bring her in for a landing, and then we'll talk about how that felt. So we're just coming abeam of Coventry's runway in our traffic pattern, and I have to say it feels better. It, like I say, a bit like the payware aircraft that don't feel quite as on rails. They've got that little bit more wobble, movement, more, I'm going to call it more natural, dynamic movement, I think is probably the best way to describe it. And this aircraft definitely feels like that now. I think if they continue to make changes like this, we're going to see a remarkable improvement in the realism of this sim, the accuracy of this sim. And I know there's lots of debate that rages on about X-Plane versus Microsoft Flight Simulator, and you know, things like the prop wash are better modelled in X-Plane, or at least certainly up until this point they were, but yeah, it's starting to feel like we're moving in that direction. It's just the 3 planes, as I said at the beginning of my video, that have got this at the moment. But it feels great. I've been flying with the King Air as well, and we'll cut to that in a second. They've got the feathering absolutely fantastic on that now. But I mean, actually, despite all the kind of like wobbling around, which you would think make these aircraft more difficult to fly, I'm actually finding it easier to fly. It's like, I don't know, particularly in VR, you just seem to know more intuitively what it is that your aircraft is doing. You know, it's very tricky without the kind of feedback, momentum, inertia that you would get when you're up in a real aircraft. And of course, as you trim real aircraft, you feel that on the yoke, you feel the pressure that you're having to exert on the yoke going off. So, you know, it's always going to be trickier in a flight simulator to really understand the inertia and momentum of your aircraft. But I'm convinced that this improvement in the physics has made that easier to sense. We're coming in for a flapless landing. We've got a nice long runway ahead of us. A little bit on the low side, but nothing to worry about. A little bit slow as well. Yeah, that feels awesome. Very impressed. A little bit of speed to bleed off. Plenty of runway. Yeah, that's great. Okay, here we are up in the King Air. We've got autopilot on, holding our altitude at 1,700 feet. We're going to simulate an engine failure by taking our left condition lever to cut off. And what we're now able to do with these new propeller physics is fully feather the engine. Now what that means is it adjusts the pitch of the propellers so that the force of the wind rushing past the propeller that has no power going to it, that wind is causing the propeller to spin. That causes a lot of drag, which causes a lot of adverse yaw. You can see that indicated on the display in front of us. Now, if I pull the prop lever all the way back, and I'm going to have to use the mouse because I can't work out the right control combination to get it in the fully feathered position, but it's pulled back into that red and white striped area there on the throttle quadrant. That's fully feathered, and as you can see here, the propeller has completely stopped turning. Now, this is what you would do in the situation that you lost an engine. This is the procedure, and if I put that back in again, you can see the propeller starts turning. That creates adverse yaw, makes the aircraft difficult to fly, it makes the performance poor, and it slows you down. Again, bring it back to feather, looking at that engine. See, it's there, absolutely brilliant. And the other thing that's really, really exciting about this is if I take the autopilot off for a second, if you let the prop is rotating and spinning with its own inertia, it's not fixed to what the aircraft is doing. That is great. These are real, I think, just about the most exciting improvements that we've had to Microsoft Flight Simulator. This is going to add to the realism of the game substantially. I can't wait until the third-party aircraft implement this. I think they are just, I mean, lots of those are already fantastic. We, you know, take like the Kodiak 100, put this proper prop physics and mechanics on there, and it's just going to go from strength to strength. So that's the end of the video, guys. As always, I hope you're very well wherever in the world you are. Stay safe in the skies, and I will see you in my next one.